This is the Gerry Callahan Show.
Well, it looks like Donald Trump woke up this morning and chose revenge. He chose retribution, and I'm okay with that, as we've talked about for the last, 2, 3, 4 years. What did you think was going to happen when you arrested him 93 times and held him captive in a New York courtroom for an entire summer when he should have been out campaigning? What did you think was going to happen when you raided his home, when you tried to take him off the ballot, when you tried to bankrupt him with these phony cases, when you charged him with rape, which was obviously changed the statute of limitations in New York so that you could charge him with a rape from 30 years ago, which was completely made up. Donald Trump, as he points out, is human. So he got up today and he must have been feeling really good, because the economy grew at 3%, really good economic news. Trump loves that. But he took some time to post this on his Truth Social, a picture of half his face. I believe that's his mugshot. And the text reads, "It's time to indict Obama, the traitor, for treason." That is your president this morning from the White House saying he would like to indict the former president. He also posted another meme with Adam Schiff in handcuffs. I don't think the president's going to move on this time. That's what he did last time. I think he regrets it. I think he could have pursued criminal charges against Hillary Clinton, who was obviously a criminal, who obviously destroyed 33,000 classified emails and destroyed her phone and bleach-bit her server. Obviously, she was obstructing justice, but as Trump pointed out in a sit-down with Miranda Devine, he decided it wasn't good for the country to go after the former First Lady, the former Secretary of State. I don't think he feels that way anymore, and he shouldn't. I know the media will pressure him. They will pull out all the stops to protect their guy, Barack Obama, and the cabal of criminals around him. But I think things are going to be different this time. I think they got the goods, as we heard from Tulsi Gabbard. We know what they did. We know they changed the intelligence report. We know they made up Russia collusion to hamstring Donald Trump. And they succeeded, by the way. It was a successful attempt to sabotage their successor. It worked. And now they're going to have to pay the price. Here's Trump this week talking about the difference this time from last time. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, we had Hillary Clinton down to whatever we wanted to do with her, and I felt it was inappropriate. She's the wife of a president. She was a Secretary of State, and we could have done a very big number.
Yeah.
And I said, we don't want to be doing that. Let's, put it into the country and not the concept of putting her in jail, indicting her, all the things that you have to do, it's tough stuff. And I said, we don't want to do that. In fact, you remember I made speeches when I mentioned her name. They started lock her up. Yeah. And I said, no, this is after we won. We just won. And I said,
you wanted the country
we have to
heal.
get back to. We want to heal. And yet they did it to me.
Yeah.
So I feel differently. I mean, I'm a human being. I have my feelings too, and so I feel differently about it. Obama, what he did was terrible. What Brennan did, and Clapper and Comey and all these lightweights, they're stupid people, actually. But what they did, and so unnecessary. And they made it really hard. But ultimately, I don't know, they toughen you up. You either learn that you can do that. How many people could handle that? Yeah. I've had so many people said, how did you handle that every day? And they come up with these different scams. They're all scams, and they're still doing it. They're doing it now.
It's different this time. Quite clearly, he's looking at it differently this time because he sees the treachery that was much worse than we expected. And I know it's not going to be easy to indict Barack Obama because he has presidential immunity. But here's what his DOJ can do. They can indict everyone around him. They didn't all get pardoned. I don't believe James Comey got a pardon. So you bring them in, and these are unethical people. These are snakes. These are evil people. James Comey, John Brennan, Hillary Clinton, the noose will tighten around Obama, and maybe he'll never face criminal charges for what he did. I don't think it rises to the level of treason. I don't think he was working with a foreign country to overthrow the government. He was just trying to undermine his successor and protect all the damage he did to the country. He didn't want Trump to go in there and undo all that. He did, or he's still doing it. But I think you start with Brennan, Comey, Clapper, Hillary, and eventually you just make Barack Obama nervous. The media will lose their minds, but that doesn't matter. It's like Trump, as we've said many times, is not running for re-election. There's nothing they can do with him now. They cannot indict him. They cannot put him in jail. They tried. They wanted him to die in prison. They wanted him to go to prison for the rest of his natural life. As he just said, he's human. Retribution is to be expected. You really think he's going to turn the other cheek at this point? Of course not. I think he's not going to be happy until they actually start indicting, arresting, and prosecuting these people. And every single one of his supporters, all 77 million, will be 100% behind that. There's not a single MAGA guy, not a single Trump supporter who says, you know what, it won't be good for the country if we find out the truth of just what an absolute snake Barack Obama is. It won't be good for the country if we try to put Jim Comey in prison. Jim Comey is a criminal. Jim Comey is the face of the weaponization of the federal government. He's a liar. He lied under oath. These are people who committed perjury on camera in front of Congress. So I think this has to be different this time. I was a little surprised by this from Trump because I thought he would take the morning to celebrate, because he should. We listened since April. We listened since Liberation Day about how Trump's tariffs were going to destroy the economy. They were going to lead to recession. One after another, Democrats went before the cameras and said, this is going to lead to inflation. This is going to destroy the economy, cost jobs. Prices are going to soar. It's not happening, and they can't stand it. It certainly seems like the Trump plan is working. This from CNBC this morning. The U.S. economy grew at a much stronger than expected pace in the second quarter, powered by a turnaround in the trade balance and renewed consumer strength. The Commerce Department reported Wednesday gross domestic product, sum of goods and services activity across the sprawling U.S. economy jumped 3% for April through June, according to figures adjusted for seasonality and inflation. That topped the Dow Jones estimate of 2.3 and helped reverse a decline of 0.5% for the first quarter. This is his plan. Trump tariff revenue was $28 billion in June, $150 million so far this year. Scott Bessent said it could reach $300 billion this year as he signs new deals. He's got a deadline of August 1st, which is 2 days away, to negotiate new deals. And I'll say it again, I'll say it every day. The new deal will be better than the old deal. And shame on every president in modern history for not doing something about the trade imbalance, for not doing exactly this, saying, why is that fair to us? How is that fair to us? And I watched CNBC this morning just for this moment at 9:30 when the markets opened and the bell rang, and they were saying, wow, we didn't see this coming. You listen to enough lies from Democrats, from Liz Warren and Chuck Schumer, and telling you this isn't going to work. They are rooting against America. That's what Democrats are doing right now. They're rooting against you and me and our president, and they're losing once again. And it's a wonderful thing to see. I look forward to see what happens in the next 2 days, see what new deals are made. I can't imagine how insanely busy Scott Bessent and Jameson Greer and the rest of the The economic team is for Trump, but he's going to be gloating today. I expect to see many, many more posts and interviews and confrontations with the media who are just heartbroken right now because Trump's plan is working. And he took time out. He took time to take a shot at Jessica Tarloff to say she's a real loser. Can I just say I like when Jessica Tarloff is on because then you get confrontation, you get a fight, you get battle. It's like Scott Jennings at CNN. These people who bring it and just come to butt heads. I like when Jessica Tarloff fights with Greg Gutfeld or Jesse Waters. I like those kind of things. So I want to keep her on there, even though I can't stand her. She's good for the show. But all right, we got much more to get to this morning. We'll be watching Trump's Truth Social post because I got a feeling he's feeling pretty jiggy. The trip to Scotland was a raging success. Everybody admits, everyone on both sides of the Atlantic admit he took them to the cleaners. It was a major victory, the biggest victory yet for Trump 2.0. So he was feeling pretty cocky. He was bragging about his opening drive on his new golf course, which he claimed went 290 yards. I don't think it went 290 yards, but he did stripe it down the middle. And he was bragging on Air Force One about what a good tee shot he had. God, it was just never a moment to rest with Trump. And it's going to be an interesting couple of days here. But all right, we got much more to get to. We got to go back to the Sydney Sweeney. This thing is just exploded, and it feels cathartic. It feels like the nation is healing. We have watched for the last 5 years as the cancel culture mob, the woke mob, has just advanced like the Russian army heading into Berlin, and they've just they've controlled the culture. They've controlled the narrative for 5 years. They canceled Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben, and they took down statues. They took down statues of Lincoln and Jefferson and Roosevelt and Christopher Columbus. That was just a couple of years ago, 3-4 years ago, where you couldn't see a TV commercial without a biracial couple or a gay guy. The only time there was a white guy in a TV commercial, he was a total buffoon. That's how it was. And there were more biracial couples in an average, in commercials in an average NFL game than there are in the country. That's how they did it. They had obese models in ads for Calvin Klein and Nike. It was madness. Well, we're returning to sanity, and I think Sydney Sweeney plays a big role here. It's not going to stop the mainstream media from continuing to spiral into just irrelevance and insanity when they talk about this. But it is a great ad. We played it yesterday. We could play it again. Get the ad with the Mustang in it because there's a couple versions, and we'll play the reaction. Good Morning America went all in. Yes, Good Morning America, ABC's morning show, which I guess is considered somewhat respected. They're all in on Sydney Sweeney being a Nazi. Yes, they are. It's hilarious. Oh, we also have the latest on how it's working for American Eagle. And this is also relevant too. We have a guy, an influencer named Joey Swall, who delivers the most pathetic, groveling apology. Why? Because he said nice things about Hulk Hogan. This feels like a trip back in time. This feels like 2020. We'll get to that and much more. But first,
Excuse me.
if you've ever searched for your name or address on Google, it's shocking to find how many results have your personal information, and it's not by chance. Data brokers and people search sites, collect your personal information, your name, address, phone number, financial info, income, and hundreds of other records. They sell it and share it publicly without your consent. But Incogni is here to put an end to that. It hunts down these unethical sites and gets your info removed from the places that expose your private information. You don't have to email anyone, fill out forms, or jump through hoops. They handle the entire process for you. Incogni is also continually monitoring if your data is put back into these databases, requesting repeated removals. This way, it keeps them off there forever. So you get fewer spam calls, spam emails, and you get more peace of mind. And best of all, you can cancel anytime and they offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can get it completely risk-free. Right now, you get 60% off an annual plan by going to incogni.com and use code word Callahan. That's incogni, incogni.com/Callahan, and use the code word Callahan at checkout. You get 60% off and protect your data for an entire year. You know, we played you one of these Sydney Sweeney ads yesterday. We talked about it. It's a very effective ad. She's a beautiful woman who does a great job selling jeans. That's what she's doing, and it's working. And they use a little pun, a little play on words. She has good jeans. You see this the first time. The first time I saw it, I said, man, that's a good ad. And it was refreshing. It was just, they weren't trying to pander. They weren't trying to virtue signal. They were just trying to sell jeans. That's what they're supposed to do. That's what they used to do. That was the case when Brooke Shields said, no one comes between me and my Calvin Klein's. That was in 1980. That's how it used to work. You made commercials designed to sell your product. That all changed after George Floyd OD'd in Minneapolis. Then the woke mob kind of took control, felt emboldened, and everything changed. Everything became about, celebrating diversity or just virtue signaling. It feels like this is a seminal moment. This is a pivotal moment that other companies, other corporations have to be looking at this and saying, no more Dylan Mulvaney, no more obese models, no more let's celebrate obesity or whatever. Let's discourage fat shaming but let's celebrate body positivity. That's all out. It's about selling the product. And this is the way. This is the way. We're done with obese models or diverse or guys who pretend to be women in these ads. For the most part, there's still some really crazy, perfume companies or whatever they are, fashion companies that still want to have guys who pretend to be women. But I don't think the swimsuit issue this year in Sports Illustrated will feature a man pretending to be a woman. I just don't. I feel like we have turned the corner. We should all be thrilled about this, by the way. But here, let's play the ad, and then we'll get to the reaction and this insane segment on Good Morning America. Here is this absolutely spectacular ad for jeans.
Sydney Sweeney has very jeans.
That is perfect. I got to say, that is America. She gets in looks like a Shelby Mustang, probably 1968, and tears out in her new jeans. If you're young, if you're a kid, that's what commercials used to be like. Is it objectifying a woman? Yes, but it's also selling jeans. And she does a great job of it. Yeah, here's what is this Calvin Klein? I believe this is Calvin Klein. Yeah. There's a Calvin Klein ad from just a couple of years ago. Again, the same company that used a young, attractive Brooke Shields to sell jeans 35 years ago used this woman who is over under, what, $3
Easily
3 bills. This is supposed to make you want to buy Calvin Klein jeans. Go ahead, play it.
I am not a moment. I'm a force to be reckoned with. I am Chica.
Couch is struggling.
That is Chica. And all they do is say Calvin Klein. How is that going to get anybody to buy Calvin Klein jeans? It didn't matter. They were pandering. They were slobbering over the mob and hoping they didn't come for them. There it is. They just put up the sign. Calvin Klein. Absolutely nuts. But here's what happened. We played you some of the TikTokers yesterday. There's a million out there, TikTokers, saying this was offensive. There's a TikToker who posted yesterday a beautiful young black woman, and she goes to American Eagle and she stops and says, I can't go in there because I'm not white. What? So if they used Beyonce, by the way, get that photo of Beyonce and Sydney Sweeney. Look at this. What's the difference? I mean, honest to God, what's the difference? They're both beautiful blondes, and they're wearing jeans, and they look great. So if it were Beyonce and not Sydney Sweeney, then it's not Nazi stuff. It's just they're making no sense. I love when the woke mob gets exposed for just their lack of common sense. They're just their crazy take here. And it's one thing when you see it on some various TikTok accounts screaming and ranting. But Good Morning America buys in, has some professor from Keene University, which I've never heard of, talk about the Nazi angle. Nazi? What? What? I mean, I don't know. I guess you could say it's racist or what. You can't even say that. It's just a beautiful woman in jeans, just like Beyonce. It's so damn senseless. Get the Good Morning America clip, because this is just amazing. Again, if you saw it on TikTok or Twitter or Facebook, yeah, it's one thing. It's just some crazy, deranged liberal. This is Good Morning America doing a report on this big controversy. A jeans company selling jeans successfully with a beautiful white woman. Go ahead.
Time to check the pulse. We begin with the backlash over a new ad campaign featuring actress Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah, the ads are for American Eagle, and the tagline is, Sydney Sweeney has great genes. Now, in one ad, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed actress talks about genes as in DNA being passed down from her parents.
The play on words is being compared to Nazi propaganda with racial undertones.
The pun, good genes, activates a troubling historical associations for this country. The American eugenics movement in its prime between like 1900 and 1940 weaponized the idea of good genes just to justify white supremacism.
Despite that backlash, American Eagle stock has been soaring.
That is madness. That's 2025. That's, if you weren't paying attention 4 years ago, that was a daily thing 4 years ago. Everything was racist. Everything was Nazi. Cancel every white guy, white woman, tear down statues, get rid of Aunt Jemima. It never made any sense. I remember I made a list. I have it in my drawer here of cancellations. So they cancel Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben, but not, Orville Redenbacher and Captain Crunch. So they take Black people off of products, including people like Aunt Jemima, who's a real person, who's an entrepreneur, who I think became a millionaire, was just a great American success story. And they said, get rid of her. I never understood it. I still don't understand the logic behind it. But we weren't supposed to ask questions. We were just supposed to take them off the product and take down the statues and cancel people and make sure every commercial had a certain level of diversity. If you had you had to have an Asian. Everything was like the cast of Zoom. You had to have an Asian, a gay guy, a biracial person. That was how they made commercials. And American Eagle said, screw that. We want to sell jeans. Here's the result. American Eagle revenue increased $1.1 billion in the first quarter. Stock jumped 11%. They sold out the jeans. Do you think Calvin Klein sold out the jeans? When Chica here on the left, you think when she made that ad, they sold out their jeans? I don't think so. Sydney Sweeney not only is making a fortune, she's donating a huge portion of the revenue to a domestic violence hotline charity, but that doesn't matter. They're gonna boycott. They're calling for a boycott, and it's gonna blow up in their faces. No one's gonna boycott. Just the opposite. They're running to American Eagle to buy these jeans. And by the way, the CEO of American Eagle is Jewish. And Good Morning America is accusing him of Nazi propaganda. These people are just not keeping up with the times. We are done with the woke nonsense. Here is, what's her name again?
Doja Cat.
Doja Cat, who is of mixed race, I believe. And she's a Grammy Award-winning artist. And this is her really well thought out, smart response to the Sydney Sweeney ad. Go ahead.
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
What prompts a person, an entertainer, to post that? It's supposed to be funny. You know what I say? You have good genes to people all the time. You know when I do that? If I meet someone, a friend, and they have a parent who's 95. I have a friend who just lost her father. He was 107. I offered my condolences and I said, you have good genes. I got another friend. Both his parents lived to 95. I say, you guys have good genes.
Geez, Gerry, relax.
It never crossed my mind that was a Nazi thing. Michael on the comment line points out they canceled the Land O'Lakes Indian lady. Why? What was... did anyone ever explain that? I remember those days when we talked about it every day, someone else getting canceled.
Yeah.
Why was the Land O'Lakes
baseball
lady?
Teams, they've canceled football teams, they cancel everything.
Right. And now comes the backlash. They canceled Indians and Redskins, and every team with an Indian name was somehow the Chiefs were supposed to change their name. Fortunately, that ain't happening anymore. But some people haven't got the memo. We got to get to this because it's incredible. Again, if you weren't paying attention 4 years ago, this happened on almost a daily basis, where where people, influencers and celebrities and just average people, said or did something that was allegedly offensive, and they were forced to grovel. That this happened. You couldn't say, until Elon Musk bought X, by the way, you couldn't say Rachel Levine is a man. Leah Thomas is a man. You can say that now. That's progress, because you know what? Leah Thomas is a man, and he is being stripped of his awards and records. That's real progress. The pendulum is swinging back toward common sense, and you don't have to grovel to the mob anymore. They don't have power anymore. But apparently, Joey Swall didn't get the message. Joey Swall is a fitness influencer with more than 1 million followers. Ironhead's a big follower. I'm not sure he listens to what Joey Swall does, because Joey Swall is in good shape, and he's in the gym all day, and he posts videos from the gym like on a daily basis. One of those people that has a lot of followers of people that want to, get in shape. So Joey Swall made the mistake of saying something nice about Hulk Hogan when he died the other day, which lots of people did.
He honestly didn't even say anything. He posted a video of him doing curls dressed like this.
And I mean, Hulk Hogan was a inspiration to a lot of people. He was in great shape. He did emphasize fitness. Hell, he loved America. I know he supported Trump, but the guy celebrated this country. And I didn't say much because I'm not a wrestling guy, and I didn't really follow his career. I wasn't, a kid inspired by Hulk Hogan, but he seemed like a decent guy. He seemed like a guy that loved the country, just loved people. And there were a lot of really glowing tributes to Hulk Hogan, including from Joey Swall. But apparently people didn't like that in his followers, because Hulk Hogan has said, I remember the whole Gawker trial, and he said some controversial things. I mean, the guy was a celebrity for 50 years. Joey Swall absolutely got on his knees and groveled and begged for mercy. This is such a mistake. Of course, they didn't grant him mercy. They're not going to forgive him. They're not going to forget. But you know what people like me are going to do? They're going to say, this guy is a pathetic, spineless squish who just should have moved on. They would have moved on in 24 hours from you, Joey. They would have forgot what you said about Hulk Hogan, and they would have watched your videos, bench pressing and talking about whatever, stretching. They would have moved on, but not now. Now you will be thought of, you will be known as just a pathetic wimp who bowed to the mob. Listen to this pathetic apology.
I owe my followers, my community, and all of social media an apology. A few days ago, I reposted an old video of me in the gym wearing a Hulk Hogan Halloween costume on the day that he passed. Last night in my live stream, a lot of people expressed how upset and frustrated they were with me that I had posted that. Instead of listening and understanding like I should have, I became defensive and said that I was posting to celebrate the wrestling icon, the person that so many of us looked up to as kids that we grew up with, that made us tear our shirts and take our vitamins and say our prayers. I didn't know to the extent of all the horrible things that he had done. Since last night, I have done a lot of research, talked to a few people, and learned all of the horrible, horrible things that that man has done, which is way more than just making a mistake and being human. So because of that, I have taken the videos down, and I apologize to anybody that I offended. I am sorry. Also, during last night's live stream, I used the word colored instead of saying person of color, which is a very outdated, very offensive term. A few moments later, somebody educated me and told me that it wasn't okay to use that, which I immediately apologized to everyone and said I would never do that again. So once again, to anybody that I offended, I am sorry.
Oh, shut up.
My whole page.
And immediately people mocked him and said, you know, they're never going to forget him and he's canceled and they're going to stop following him. Here's what he posts. This is just so embarrassing. Honest to God. He writes, all the good I've done, all the people I've helped, all for nothing. When I need help, when I need kindness and compassion, nothing. I truly hope all the people I've inspired to do great things in their life and pay it forward to help others and carry on my message. But no matter how much good you do, no matter how many people you help, they just wait for a reason to hate you and tear you down. It's true. You either die a hero or live long enough to be the villain. Thank you all for your support. I love you all. I am done with social media. This guy was making a fortune on social media. How many followers? I mean, now he said he's all done because of the backlash of being a kid dressing as Hulk Hogan and posting that. He is getting bad advice. It's too late now. He is just going to be thought of and known as just as pathetic. And it's not good for a tough, muscular, jacked, ripped fitness influencer to grovel like a child. This is the second worst apology I think I've ever seen. Number one will always be John Cena, another fitness influencer in a way. I mean, I always liked John Cena.
They all revolve around wrestling too.
He does, he's great. He does a lot for charity. He holds the record for the most Make-A-Wish wishes granted. He does a lot of good things. But John Cena apologized. This is why it's the worst ever. He apologized in Mandarin to the Chinese people because he said the word Taiwan, I believe, or Hong Kong. I think Taiwan. And there was backlash from the Chinese market, and they might not put his movie in all the theaters. So he delivered an apology in Mandarin. The most humiliating thing ever. I can't look at Cena anymore without thinking of that. Just how he just bent the knee like nobody else. Just humiliating. All right. Speaking of humiliating, we got so much more to get to. I want to get to the latest on the New York, the mass shooting, the worst mass shooting in New York in 25 years. We talked about it yesterday. Obviously, the first thing the mainstream media did was, and Democrats did, was look to see if it was a white guy. They said it was possibly white, as CNN repeated a couple times, which is really an bizarre take. Possibly white? Can you imagine them saying possibly black or possibly Asian or possibly anything other than possibly white? They just let it slip because that's what they were hoping for. We saw immediately he wasn't white.
Yeah, it's like literally looking at this picture of Eric Adams and going, he might possibly be white.
That's true. And you know what? This was Eric Adams' moment. I hate to politicize it. You can't do that at this point. They haven't even had the funeral, which is going to be just incredible. They know how to send off their own in the NYPD. We have yet to see Zoran Mandami, who hates the cops and wants to defund them, show up. He'll probably show up at the funeral. Hopefully the cops will say, get lost. But I thought Eric Adams did a nice job initially talking about this, giving a lot of facts, a lot of details. He's the one that revealed that the target of Shane Tamura, 27-year-old guy from Nevada, was targeting the NFL. But then they get to gun control. And again, I'm not a big gun guy, but they just don't know what they're talking about. Here's Eric Adams. Is this where he talks about automatic weapons? There was a lot of that on the left. Automatic weapons. How you can get an automatic weapon in this country, which is just absurd. You can't get an automatic weapon is a machine gun. That's not what he had. They don't care. They just want to come out and, viscerally just blame guns. Like, this is a rifle. It's a very popular rifle. It's a rifle some people hunt with. Some people use it for protection. But it's a rifle, a semi-automatic rifle, not a machine gun. Here's Mayor Adams.
We cannot respond to senseless gun laws through vigils. It must be responded through legislation. It is time to turn the corner of a society where automatic weapons are as easy to get as a cell phone.
Okay, that's just dumb. I mean, there's a lot you can say. You could say whatever, ban rifles. I don't know. It was a gun-free zone when this madman walked across the plaza with the gun by his side, carrying it. And he knew one thing when he entered that building. He knew there'd be an armed security guard or a cop working a detail, but he knew all the people in the offices would be unarmed. He couldn't do that in Nevada. He couldn't do that in Texas or even Maine or New Hampshire. He couldn't go in there with surety that nobody would fire back. But it's just so predictable. You can have the gun debate, but don't you have to do a little research? Don't you have to know what you're talking about? As easy to get a machine gun as a cell phone. I don't think that's the case anywhere. You could go to you go to Wyoming or Oklahoma. You can't get a machine gun. I mean, you can't get a handgun as easy as you can get a cell phone. It's just stupid. Mehdi Hassan, the radical, used to be on MSNBC. He tweets out, "It's insane that we live in a country where folks can walk around in the street with an AR-15. I hate to break it to Mehdi, but it was illegal. He was breaking the law in New York City. It was illegal to carry that gun across the plaza, and it was really illegal to shoot people with it. People are going to break laws. It's kind of the way it works. This guy is a murderer. He didn't respect the gun laws. He broke the law, you moron. It's not okay to walk in New York City with a rifle by your side. It's pretty amazing that he was able to do it and no one saw him. And there's been some interesting, Piers Morgan had an interesting take. He said, we're going to stop this through AI. There'll be a point where those cameras will detect someone like this and just shut down all the buildings. And, maybe that is a potential thing that AI can do. Here's New York Congressman Richie Torres again saying it's, weapons of war. I ask this every time someone commits a mass shooting with an AR, would they feel better? Would Richie Torres and Eric Adams, Mehdi Hassan feel better if they used, I don't know, handguns, a rifle, a hunting rifle, a really good hunting rifle? Do you think if you just said no more ARs, that a guy like Shane Tamura would just go on and live happily ever after and not hurt anybody? You think because he had access to that gun, that's why he did what he did? Or do you think he would do it anyway with a different gun? I mean, it makes no sense. But again, here's Congressman Richie Torres.
And I find it to be absolute insanity that we allow weapons of war to just flow freely on the streets of America. And even though New York State and New York City have the strictest gun laws in the nation, those gun laws can only take you so far if guns can easily cross state boundaries. And this is exactly what happened here.
And in New York, is your understanding that it would have been easy for him to obtain this AR-15 weapon if he purchased it here?
I think it would have been easier for him to obtain it in Nevada. I mean, we have much stricter gun laws here in New York.
Yeah.
But again, what we desperately need is a national ban on military style weapons because we have far too many guns in America, far too few regulations of those guns.
Handguns are used way more often than rifles in these scenarios.
Much more
you want
often.
there to be a checkpoint going into every state.
So if he had a gun, a handgun, and a hunting rifle and a shotgun, would you feel better, Richie, if Officer Islam were shot with a handgun or a rifle that's not a scary weapon of war? Would you feel better? It's so predictable. And again, you can have the debate, but don't you have to know what you're talking about? Don't you have to know that a semi-automatic rifle is like every rifle? I mean, unless it's a bolt action thing, a semi-automatic is what they all are. That's what people hunt with. So people use to target practice to protect their homes, semi-automatic. Wouldn't you say that's like 99% of guns, Ironhead? I know you're the gun guy.
Yeah, I've never seen an automatic one, but they're out there, I'm sure.
I got a friend, Fred Smirlis. He had a permit to carry a machine gun. He showed it to me. I don't know how he got it, but that's the one and only time I've ever seen somebody who could legally use a machine gun. I'm not sure if he ever
I have
used it.
something very similar to the gun that guy used, but it doesn't matter what the laws are. People are still going to get them and still do that.
You're right. I mean, they're still going to do it. They do it with other guns, and they'll find a way. I mean, if you're a madman bent on killing people, you will find a way. And you're going to use a gun. I'm sorry, but their Second Amendment's not going away. This guy, I don't even believe he bought it legally. We'll find out. I just read he assembled it himself. But maybe if we tried that in Texas, they would have been shooting back instead of barricading themselves in their offices. But so this funeral is just going to be amazing. It really is. But in the cops, and hopefully this raises some questions about Zoran Mandami and what he plans to do with the NYPD. Because again, you cannot elect this guy. You cannot have a communist who wants to defund the cops because they're anti-queer. That's why he wants to defund the police, because they're anti-queer fascists. The NYPD is really, really important. They are a great police force, a really big police force. And if you demoralize the New York Police Department, New York's going to descend into chaos. It's just going to be bad news. So think twice. I don't love Eric Adams, or I can't stand Andrew Cuomo, but you can't elect the commie. All right, let's get to the most disturbing story of the day. And there's not a close second. This is remarkable. No one's covering it. The website Redux has this story, and you'll find it nowhere else. Story about two gay guys and their new baby. Their baby, here they are. They're the two gay guys and their baby. Their names are Brandon Mitchell and Logan Riley. They bought a baby from a surrogate. They didn't adopt him. You know why? Because they couldn't adopt him. Because Brandon Mitchell is a sex offender, a registered sex offender. Look at that sickening video. They post a video every month when this poor boy celebrates another month birthday. I post a video with a cupcake, blowing out the candle on the cupcake, the three of them together. Look at this poor child. This isn't about gay adoption, although we could talk about that and how that's not healthy for the child. Every child deserves a mother. Every child has a mother. In this, you want to talk about a loophole? You know why a registered sex offender was able to buy a baby? Because it's not against the law. This is in Pennsylvania. Here's from Redux. A widely circulated video showcasing a gay couple's surrogacy journey has revealed that a baby boy is currently in the custody of a registered child sex offender. The couple, Logan Riley and Brandon Mitchell, gained viral attention after posting a video introducing their newborn son. It has since emerged that Mitchell is a pedophile. I'll get you the details. It is sickening. Mitchell, a tier 1 sex offender in the state of Pennsylvania, was arrested in 2016 after attempting to solicit a 16-year-old boy for sexual abuse. The victim in the case was a student at Dowington West High School, where Mitchell worked as a chemistry teacher. According to records released by the Chester County DA, the Downington Police, Mitchell solicited the boy to send him nude photographs. He also told the victim he wanted to watch him masturbate and sent the victim approximately 20 nude photographs of himself. They executed a search warrant on this guy's home and took his electronic devices and phone records, revealed he exchanged 12,000 messages with the victim. Mitchell instructed the victim to delete the conversations. They recovered hundreds of sexually explicit videos of the child on his laptop computer. Here's where it gets absolutely infuriating, sickening. He pleaded guilty to felony child pornography possession and 1 count of corruption of a minor, and was sentenced to 23 months of incarceration. That's like less than hundreds and hundreds of people who walked through the Capitol on January 6th. That's less than you get in the UK if you post an anti-immigration message on X or Facebook. I can't even read this. Court records show he was granted parole after 2 months. He did 2 months for sexually abusing a child while he was a teacher at the school. So this maggot, this lowlife piece of garbage, is now a father of a baby boy. And you're thinking, well, they should take that kid away. They can't. This isn't illegal. He paid his debt to society. He did his 2 months. He lost his teaching job. Now he's a chemist at some company. They hired him. You know what the other dad does? You know what Logan Riley does? He's a 2nd grade teacher. A 2nd grade teacher who is married to this sex offender and paid a woman to have their baby. And of course, it's a baby boy. They had a GoFundMe to raise money for the adoption, for the surrogacy. Their goal was like 50 grand. They raised $2,000. So there are people out there who sent them money, not a lot, sent them money so that they could buy a baby. And now the 2 of them are just giddy, celebrating with this poor child. I mean, there's so many questions here. First of all, where the hell's the media? Where's all the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania media? Where's the national media? This is outrageous. I mean, it's one thing if they adopted him, then you call in question the adoption agency and you'd say, take the kid away. They bought him, and that's legal. They bought a baby boy from a woman who carried him, gave birth, and sold this baby. This is dystopian stuff. This is madness. And we're going to just sit there and say, well, he did his 2 months. They're not going to abuse this poor child. They're going to, that's a healthy home. This kid has no chance in life. He has no mother. He has a pedophile is one of his fathers. The other guy's a 2nd grade teacher. And we're going to just look the other way and chalk it up to, progress. This is diversity. This is love is love. Love is love. They love him. Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. This is sickening. And the least we could do is call attention to it. The least we could do is, if you're a cable news show, if you're, doing a nightly show, if you're our friend Rob Finity, cover this. If you're whatever, Fox News, CNN, cover this. It's insane what's happening in Pennsylvania right now. This kid is not going to be okay. There's just no way. It's not going to be okay. But apparently it's legal in Pennsylvania, and it's nauseating. There were people posting about this. A guy named Derek Bly posts, unless a miracle happens, this child has no chance at a normal life. Of course he doesn't. And immediately, Bev Jackson of the Alliance LGB says, that is homophobic. If the child has 2 loving male parents, there's no evidence whatsoever that he or she will not prosper. Oh, really? So a kid doesn't need a mother? That goes against sense. Of course the kid needs a mother. He has a mother. He's just not going to see his mother. And his father, one of his fathers, is a pedophile. And I don't know what they can do, but they got to do something. And I think it starts with bringing attention to it. Let's call out the media, everyone. Let's talk radio, podcasts, get on this. With that pleasant thought, we will wrap it up. I don't know. We'll follow the case. We will follow it. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully they get shunned by their neighbors, and hopefully everybody knows what kind of pervert this guy is. And hopefully the high school kid who was abused by this monster is okay. Imagine your kid gets abused, gets molested by his teacher. They catch him. They find all these child porn videos on his computer, and he's free in 2 months.
Well, imagine being the surrogate mom in this case, finding all this out after the fact.
Man, how much money did she get? And no kidding, she sold her baby boy to these freaks, to this child molester, and he should have been sentenced to life. This guy belongs in prison for life. Kids aren't safe around him. He's preying on children in his classroom when he's supposed to be teaching them. He's got a computer full of child porn, and he does 2 months. I'm sure it was real hard. 2 months too, probably 2 months in some, dorm and some farm, and free to molest again. Just sickening. I had other stuff to get to, but I can't right now. I'm just trying to get my mind around this. It's just madness. And we'll see if people bring attention to this or if they're afraid. It's 2025. You don't have to be afraid anymore. Cover this. Call it out. Shame these monsters. And maybe there's some way, somehow, we could save this child. But that will do it for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'm Gerry Callahan. This is The Callahan Show, and we will do it again tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, my God. Is she crazy?
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you so very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Oh, too many.